You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
JC, the big man's back in the chair, y'all.
It's been too long.
I've missed you, JC. I've missed
we
you,
should
mate.
Play that music. Reunited and it feels so good.
Then just mixed into The Boys Are Back in Town.
Yeah.
That'd be a lovely little... Mate, I haven't seen you, but one of my favourite moments of the shoot is your little lady coming down, little starring role for one of the Cole family.
Yeah, mate, she loved it. She wants to be an actress. Do you know what it was good? Like bring your kids to work day. Like they see the waiting around, all the other stuff. You know, not just the finished article of the show. It's all of the hard work that goes into it. So yeah, that really took her back. How much sort of hanging about and how many times they had to do a take and that. But she loved it. Thanks for that.
No. She was great. It was great seeing Alex. It's one of my favourite things of when you see people come down and see how much. It's like, I suppose it is similar in a way. It's like football, anything, isn't it? The training and everything else, and all the work that goes into that. You know, like what she was down for is probably that will last 2 minutes on screen. Yeah, and it took like 4 or 5 hours. So yeah, it was pretty amazing, man.
Talk to me. We've been having an ongoing discussion. We was a bit worried at one point. We got told you were doing some stunt driving.
Yeah, oh my God. No. I got in trouble at Hanbury Hall for ragging off a golf buggy. Big shout out Hanbury. Actually, though, I did promise Hanbury Manor that me and you would go down there and play a game for them.
I'd love to. You tell me when.
I'm gonna have a little lesson later, and then I'm gonna get ready. I might play you next week.
Yeah, come down, mate. We'll have a right go.
Little rock and roll. Right, Joe. You know how I roll, yeah? You know how I do things. Yeah. I'm not going to come back to All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral, and I'm not coming back with a whimper. I'm coming back with a wow factor.
You're coming back with a Barry White voice as well.
Oh, mate, this guest is the one. You ready for this?
Go on. Hit me with it.
Over 300 Premier League appearances, 2 titles, an FA Cup and 2 League Cups, a World Cup finalist with Argentina. Put your hands together for Pablo Zabaleta.
Hi, guys.
Hello, mate. Pablo. How are you?
Yeah, lovely to speak to you. Thank you for the invitation. That's great. Nice to see you, Cole.
Nice to see you, mate. Nice to see you.
Where are you now, Pablo? Whereabouts in the world?
Well, I'm in Barcelona at the moment. I spent 3 years playing for Espanyol of Barcelona before Man City. I love the place. Also, I have to say that my wife is from Barcelona, so you can you can see why I'm here.
Happy wife, happy life, mate. You live where she tells you. That's all right.
You're right.
That's the vibe that we're all walking.
But no, I'm always thought that it was the right place for me to come and settle with a family after my playing day. So yeah, I'm quite happy to be here. Obviously, because of the situation that we are in at the minute, it's been very difficult for everybody. But it's a nice place, to be honest.
It's hard that, I suppose, as well. That sort of the one thing we're finding is that sort of family, loved ones who you just sort of, for what, it's like a year you don't see. Are you missing have you missed the UK at all, and sort of friends and family over here, or friends over here?
I've been for 12 years in England, and of course I got plenty of friends over there. I'm not saying I miss the weather. Come on, let's be honest.
We're getting like 4 seasons a day here at the moment, Pablo.
No, seriously, we did Monday. It snowed, it rained. Yeah. The sun was out beautifully, and then it was windy, but it was like mental on Monday, wasn't it? Yeah. I was playing golf. It was madness.
For me, I didn't complain about the weather to play football. I used to love that, playing the cold. I hate playing football in Spain. I used to play in Spain for 3 years, and you cannot believe how tough it is to go and play in Andalusia, Seville. Yeah. Those play with 32, 35 degrees.
Yeah.
2 p.m. kickoff. That was really, really tough. And I remember when I moved to the UK, and I used to enjoy the weather. It was really nice to play at 1 p.m. In the chilly weather. Yeah. Not so hot. And even for training, I know January and February sometimes it's like, I hate it. What I'm doing here. It's windy, it's cold, it's raining, and for football it was great. But obviously, sometimes when I'm with the kids on the weekend, we go out and we enjoy the weather in Barcelona. That's why sometime in Spain you enjoy that.
It's an incredible city. It's one of my favourite cities in the world. Just to go and just the restaurants and nightlife. It's a beautiful place to be. And
I can't remember the nightlife, mate. No, it's been a long time ago.
Hey, Manchester takes some beating. Manchester's good. Pablo will know about that.
Mate, Manchester is now a different city.
I know.
City. It's like Manhattan. New buildings everywhere.
I know.
What was it like when you first joined there?
I remember when I came back with West Ham. We were at the Hilton Hotel, and you can see from the Hilton is very tall, and you can see the whole city, the whole Manchester city, and new buildings everywhere. It was like, wow. When I first came in 2008, it was only a few big tall buildings. So Hilton was the only one, and then 2-3 more. But even in terms of restaurants, only a few Italian restaurants in the main ones. But now you can see a lot of good quality food in the city. So it's great. I was very impressed with that.
Well, Pablo, talking of Manchester, we have to deal with something of an elephant in the room. A while back, Joe told us a story about playing you in 2014, and it's one of my favourite stories because Joe...
You felt the pain, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and I love you, JC, and it felt like I could feel the pain coming through.
You come into sort of the end of my career, and it was a big game because I went and won things at Chelsea, but I wanted to do something at West Ham, and we got into the semi-final. And playing the way we played for Sam, it obviously wasn't pretty football. My job was to mark Pablo, and I was the left winger. And he never stopped running that way all the time. And I never touched the ball. And then the ball was getting boomed in the end. I'm running up trying to get it. I think it was about 5 or 6-0. And I looked round, it was pissing down with rain. They were keeping the ball. Like, I couldn't get near anyone. And he looked at me, Pablo, said, why'd you play like this? And I just I couldn't get my breath from chasing it. I said, I don't know. And it was at that moment, I remember it precisely because I remember thinking, I just can't do this anymore. They was unbelievable, that team. That Negredo, Agüero, Company himself, what a team they was.
Yeah, we played some of the best football that year. It was Manuel Pellegrini's first season at City. And we won the league and the League Cup. And also I remember also that game against West Ham. I think both games we beat you easily. But we were a really good team. I mean, when you have in the same team the like of Agüero, Fernandinho, Agüero, Silva, Nasri, mate, they made everything look so easy.
He didn't stop running, Tom. He did not stop running. I promise you. I played against some of the best, but I put Pablo in that bracket. Your Dani Alves.
Oh, thank
Pablo.
you, Joe. Come on.
No, because you cannot affect the game because he just kept running. He done this run without getting too technical. He used to get the ball. Yaya would pick the ball up and he would run like a centre forward from the right back position behind our centre halves. And with Big Sam, there was none of it. You couldn't be clever and go, I'll pass him on. He just say, that's your man. So I'm ending up deeper than our centre halves. And then I got at 32, whatever I was, 33, and I've got to run all the way up the field to then get the ball. And then I didn't have the legs to do it. And I just felt broken. And Pablo shared that pain with me at that moment. And he was
Pablo,
fresh.
Do you remember saying that to him, Pablo?
I remember, he couldn't hold his breath. He was like, that's so bad. But believe me, mate, that season, all I was doing is just running forward. Because, making overlap all the time, Yaya passing the ball to Silva, and as a fullback, I knew I needed to make the run into the space in behind, maybe the fullback or in between the left back and the centre back, because the ball was going to be there. It was going to be the perfect ball from Yaya or Silva. So I felt so confident to play, in that way. It was unbelievable. I really enjoyed that season. Sometimes as fullback, of course, you are a defender. You are part of the line, part of the back four, and you cannot think, okay, I cannot be like, a right wing all the time. I also need to think about, my winger, not to be caught out and then, not lose my mind. But that season, I was just, making runs forward 90% of the games. And I used to frustrate a lot of wingers that they needed to track me back, and then bro, I feel sorry for you, Joe.
Like Joe, every winger I bet is just sitting there, just feeling that pity is just like a little rub on the top of the head, like a school kid. Pablo, when you joined City, because you joined City right the day before the Abu Dhabi group took over, 2008. Did you know that? Did you know that was happening when you signed?
Well, there were some rumors about that, but I wasn't quite sure. And it was a tough decision for me to sign for Man City, because I was at Espanyol, obviously a mid-table team, but I've been for 3 years at Espanyol. We won the Copa del Rey, which is like winning the FA Cup in England. Yeah. Then we were in the final against Seville in Glasgow in 2007 in the Europa League. I was in a good team, and it was in a nice place, in a nice city, a good team. The club wanted to extend my contract. But when Man City came, it was not like I was going to play for a better team in terms of, sportively, or I was going to a team to win trophies. So it was like, I wasn't sure, but my decision was like, I want to play in the Premier League. I want an experience in the Premier League. I think if you will ask every single player in the world if they would like to have a chance to play in the Prem, 95% of them would say, "Oh yes, I want to go there." But Man City, when they came, I went on Google and just to look at the squad, and I only knew a few players. It was Sean Wright-Phillips that came from Chelsea that season. Didi Hammond, he was at the end of his career, but I knew him from his time at Liverpool and all that. Elano, a Brazilian player. I used to play against him in the national team, and Martin Petro, because he used to play for Atletico Madrid, and I play against him. So good player. Really good player. His prime, yes. So I wasn't sure, but I wanted that experience in the Premier League. So, and I thought, okay, let's try, and play 3-4 years, and then I was only 23. Then maybe I got a chance to come back to Spain and keep enjoying my football in Spain, the lifestyle and all that. And I went to Manchester. I signed my contract, and a few days later, the new owners came into the club, and they signed Robinho from Real Madrid, £40 million. It was a ridiculous fee for back in the days. Yeah. It was like all the players that we were there, we used to write in the lockers, in the dressing room, the names of Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. So who is next? Like every transfer windows in January, all the best player in the world. Manchester City wanted to sign, and I was counting the days, for me to say, okay, maybe in next season I will not be here because they would bring, I don't know, Mike and Dani Alves or some of those fullbacks. So sometimes it's like in football you need a bit of luck, because probably I went to the club in the right moment.
Joe, do you, listening to Pablo talking that, does it make you think about that sort of those early days of Abramovich at Chelsea? It was almost identical, your scenario there, right?
Almost identical. And I think as well, although I signed from West Ham for Abramovich at the same time. It was literally the same. What you're saying there, who's coming through the door? Was it Kaka? Was it Shevchenko came eventually, but Etu, they was linked with everyone. And Chelsea was actually, Pablo, in a, like, if you'd have seen a training ground, for instance, where we trained at, it was, you think Chapel Heath's a dump. Where we trained in Harlington, mate, it was a disgrace for a Premier League club. Chelsea was, at least Man City had the stadium and had a little bit of there was equipped for it. There was a Premier League club. When I signed for Chelsea and we were signing players like Varane, what a guy, your countryman.
Yeah.
He could not believe what he was coming to. Like, he was like, what? He'd been at Lazio, in Milan, wherever he was, Man United, and Chelsea was a mess at the time, but his money came in. And it's funny what you should say, because I think the reason Pablo's so well thought of, because he breached the time before the Abu Dhabi boys come in, and during that, and he stayed strong throughout and became a massive, massive player in the club's history. I think, and what he's saying about bringing players in, every year at Chelsea, I think I'd have a good season, and then they'd be linked with Robinho. Other players would come in trying to take your position, and I think the fans recognise with Pablo, like, you just dig in and you got to perform and try and perform just to stay at a club like that, because they're always improving. So to stay for as long as he done at Man City is a testament to him, because it's tough, man. These clubs, they keep bringing in players to replace you all the time. You've got to keep performing.
100%. And Joe, let me also say something. Not Man City, I remember a year after the Abu Dhabi guys came into the club, they signed in January. They tried to bring some players in, Shea Given, I think Bellamy, Nigel De Jong. Obviously, January is a difficult time to bring top players. But then next summer, I think they went for Tevez, Kolo Touré, Adebayor. I think Gareth Barry came, Lescott. They spent big money to bring those players and to make a strong team. But not all those players came with the commitment that sometimes you need as a team to create the right mentality, because you can have big names in football, right, in the squad. But if not all of them come with the right mentality, it's very difficult, because they have big salaries, and if they don't perform, they don't care, and they don't train 100%, and they not create that strong mentality, so that good atmosphere that sometimes you need as a team to win something. And that's why for me it was really tough at the beginning. Not in my case, because I'm always thought that it was a player that's I trained 100%. I wanted to change the history of the club. I was fully committed, but somehow I have seen some of the big players that I felt so frustrated that they don't have given 100% for the club, and it took a bit of time to build that strong team that we needed to win trophies.
What was the thing that clicked the season that you won it? It's one of the greatest ends to a Premier League season you'll ever see. That at QPR, you scored the opening goal in that game.
Yeah, the forgotten goal. Nobody remembers that goal.
We don't forget it all to play for, Pablo. Don't worry, we've got it written down right here.
For me and Joe, that was the goal. Right?
The only goal that counts.
We're about laying the base layer.
The best goal scored by an Argentinian that day.
What's your memory of that?
I scored that goal, and at half time I thought, let that game finish 1-0. I will be the hero of that day, Terrible. It was a horrible goal. The goalkeeper should have done much better. I don't know. It was I just closed my eye and just hit the ball and to the goalkeeper's hand, and shoot, not the best goal, but at the end the ball was went into the back of the net, and it was like, 1-0, we're winning, perfect scenario, playing at home, everyone just waited Man City to win that game, and 20 minutes later in the game we were losing 2-0, man, and it was incredible, that game. We can talk about that game, for hours. That is something that, for me, it's going to take so much time to see something like that in football again. Incredible. I think I lost so much hair in that game, mate. Look at me now. I think in the last 15 minutes of that game, I never felt so nervous. It was so very stressful. Believe me, every situation, every attack that we couldn't score, it was like, we cannot throw this away. Everyone was there. Chairman, the fans, 45 years just waiting.
I know.
The club to win it. QPR at home, they were fighting for relegation, I think, and it was quite soft because they went to defend really deep, and with 11 players we had a ball. But yeah, incredible day, incredible.
What was the party like, Pablo? After, I bet that was amazing, right? I bet that was a hell of a party.
That was great. I mean, it was nice because. I think we went to some of the hotels in the city, and everything was prepared because obviously it's something that you need to organize the days before, and we went with the families, the missus, and all that. It was a special night. But I think some of the Gallagher brothers also came to that party, and it was fantastic.
Legends. Yeah. They're big in Argentina, right? Oasis.
Massive. He's massive.
My favourite band.
They're incredible.
We love rock and roll in Argentina. Yeah,
that's it, mate.
That's one of my best ever. I went to see them at Nebworth years and years ago.
I was there.
Were you there?
I was there, mate. Listen, I was 14.
Seats.
No. I was 14, big man.
Yeah, you would have been. Yeah.
Listen, sorry to digress, but this story needs to be told. I didn't tell my mum. No, sorry. I told my mum, but she didn't quite get the concept of. She thought it was like, she didn't know what Oasis were. The concert, it was about 30 miles from my house, and it was. So I've gone at 14 with my pal, just there all day, and obviously I couldn't get home, and my mum was pulling her hair out because, like, she'll hate me for telling this story because letting a 14-year-old now go the other side of London and for a festival, I couldn't get home. My dad had to come and rescue me in the car at like 3 a.m. from the festival because I couldn't get on the train. It was nuts. Unbelievable.
Man, I remember
what
being
a day
there.
That was.
Mate, it was incredible. I was also, because I was tall and skinny, I'm 6'7", Pablo, so I'm a tall guy. But I remember literally getting really close to the front and then just getting pushed further and further back where people couldn't see. I got there early. I was like, oh, mate, I'm going to be so close. And everyone's getting, I can't see anything. Before you know it, I was like being moved. You could just see me like a shark fin, just being pushed further and further back.
If I'd have known you then, I could have got on your shoulders.
Oh, JC, if there's one person I'd have loved on my shoulders there, it would have been you. You or Pablo.
Yeah,
I'm carrying either of you. When you look at the situation now, if you go back to sort of that then, Pablo, and you look now, City were 8 points behind United, right? With 6 games to play, and now it's a reverse of that. Now, do you think? I mean, look, me and Joe have said a number of times on here. I think City this season are unreal, but do you think there's a chance that could happen this year? United, the flip of it, it's 50-1 with Coral for United to win the league. That's a big ask.
You have to go into every single game thinking, must get a 3-point, a must-win game. They lost against Leeds last weekend. Man United won against Spurs, and I know the gap is still big, but we were, as you say, we were 8 points behind Man United, and we never. We always felt that we could catch United that season, and it was exactly like that. It is true that we played a huge game against them at City, and then after that game we took the lead, and then we were on top, and everything just depended on us that season. But now I think Man City, it's only 7 games to go until the end of the season. I think 7 games. I cannot see Man City losing 4 or 5 games.
No.
I don't know. It's going to be difficult, but especially in the way the Man City playing at the moment. Okay, they lost against Leeds last weekend, but I don't know. They still playing such a great football. And I don't know if that was only 5-6 points, we could say okay, but could be more worried. But I think Man City is going to win the league.
Joe, just picking up another City player there who, I always draw comparisons with yourself and him, and watching him last night, which I just thought with Phil Foden, and I'll get to you in a second, Pablo, but with you, Joe, where do you watch Foden? I mean, number one, you must watch him and think I remember when you first came through for West Ham, and I was actually with Harry on Monday, and we were talking about you as a player, and it's that fearlessness of someone coming through. Like, how much do you love Phil Foden?
Oh, I love Phil Foden. I think he's one of the most exciting English players I've seen since Rooney come through. He's fearless. What he's got a perfect place to be. The football's different from 20 odd years ago when I started. Like, I was a fish in the wrong pond in the way that English football was. Phil Foden playing for Pep Guardiola is just going to flourish. He's going to be one of the great players. I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but his performances are doing that because he keeps producing. Again last night, a talented player, and he's got his feet on the ground from what you hear off the pitch. But him meeting Pep could be the best thing that's happened for English football because he's been nurtured the right way on how to play the game correctly, which we could talk about how British football's evolved over the last 15 years since we've had the great foreign managers come in, the great foreign players to play football the right way. And because of that, we're producing players like Phil Foden, Mason Mount, Jack Grealish, James Maddison, amongst others, players that can handle the ball technically like the South Americans, the Europeans. So I love Phil Foden, and for me, he's a must to play for England in the Euros. He's a fantastic player.
Do you watch him, Pablo? Was he being talked about? The way that Joe was being talked about. I mean, I don't know if you know, but Joe was being talked about in the West Ham crowd. We were talking about Joe as like very early teenager. It was like literally he was like the second coming for us because everyone just around the ground would be like, look, this is awful at the moment. Don't worry, we've got Joe Cole coming. Everything will be saved. It was like that. But did you know of Phil Foden when you were there, or when you left? What was the situation?
Well, no. When I was at Man City, I did my coaching batches with a B with under 15, and he was there. Phil was there. And I used to coach that team because I needed to do the practice, and you could see that this guy was different. He was different, but physically maybe he was tiny, and he's always. I think when in the British football we always think something like, he's gonna be strong, physically strong to play in that league. Maybe he could be afraid or a bit soft. You never know. But he was a real joy to watch this guy in training. He was enjoying himself. And to be honest, I think when we look at play at the age of 15, you don't know if this guy will have the right mentality to become a first-team player, especially at Man City, that you have so many players for that position, But when David Silva left last season, we all thought, okay, that is the right moment for Phil Foden to prove himself that he's good enough for that team. And mate, at his age, with the personality he's playing, he looks so confident. He wants always the ball. And for me, that I've been at Man City for 9 years, I've never seen a young player coming through the academy. And then the club been spending so much money to try to bring players in, but we wanted to see a young player, a local lad, coming through the academy that really feel so proud to play for the club and for the batch, and that is Phil Foden. So I'm very pleased for him too. And he seems a really nice lad, and that's why I'm pleased to see him playing in the way he's doing at the minute, and hopefully, as you say, Joe, hopefully he's in the squad list for the Euros. I would love. Surely he has to be there.
You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
been with my wife now 45 years. We're childhood sweethearts. We've been together since we were 16 and 15.
Oh, come on, Joe. You're starting to make me cry now. What's up with you? Jeez,
Well, that's the intention, Alan, to make you all cry.
Check out the full video now to find out why Joe is Alan's next winner.
Well, going from a young buck on the scene to what a bona fide, I'd say, legend, not just sort of for City but for English football. When you heard the news of Agüero, were you surprised? For me anyway, I wasn't completely shocked by that. I mean, I think one of the best goal scorers globally. Yeah. He's incredible. But were you shocked? Did you sort of have an inkling, or did you know, or was it a complete shock for you?
I remember when I can't remember one of the scouting. He was a City. He came to me to ask me about Sergio, and I said to him, "Listen, I know Sergio. He's a funny lad. He's like, like a clown, but in a good way. Yeah. You can see now doing the streaming, talking." Yeah. All the time playing games and all that. But and I say to him, sometimes for South American players, when we go to England, it's completely different. The culture, the language, the football, everything changed. And when they asked me about Sergio, it was like, as a player, he's fantastic. He's great. He's one of the best strikers. But he was young. He was 21, 22. But I said to him, I don't know if he will adapt quite well in England, because I don't see Sergio learning any English. Probably he's happy in Spain, and because the lifestyle and all that. But hey, 10 years, we're talking about Sergio Agüero in English football, in the Premier League. He broke all the records. One of the greatest ever striker to play in the league. And he brought so much success into the club for Man City. Only 45 million. I know it was a big money back in the days, but it worked for me.
It feels like nothing now.
It's nothing. And now, if you can keep watching clips of Sergio's goals in the last decade for Man City, he scored some goals that are unreal goals. Apart from that goal, in that game against QPR. But what a talent, what a finisher. For me, is Sergio around the 18-yard box. 90% of the chances will go in the back of the net. He's a finisher. Then maybe I always say, oh, Sergio, you are a bit lazy without the ball. You should run more. You should work more without the ball, because that is all you expect sometimes for a striker, to press the centre back, if they pass the ball back to the goalkeeper, at least make a 6-7 yards run to press the goalkeeper. And probably Sergio sometimes was a bit lazy on that. But inside the box, I've never seen a player that good as Sergio.
I remember seeing him play against West Ham, and I think it was the first time we played City at the London Stadium. And number one, it was just like straight away, you're like, this pitch is too big for us. And I think I try and forget these things, but I'm almost definitely he scored a hat trick. I think he absolutely tore us to shred. But it was like, look, as a West, we'll get onto West Ham in a bit and how they're playing well this season. But as a West Ham fan, sometimes you've got to go. You're just watching someone who just plays at another level.
Do you think? Because I think there's at least 2-3 years left in Agüero. Do you think Man City are thinking to move him out now because there's something big happening in that position? I know they've been linked with Haaland and also with Messi. Do you think they're going to go big this summer, or do you think they'll stick with Jesus?
No, I think that we go for another striker. They have to. But it's a bit difficult to think about that, because if you look at the team now in the way they play, they don't having a number 9 in the team. Pep is not playing Gabriel Jesus most of the games.
Yeah.
It seems like they playing with Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, Phil Foden, Sterling, Gundogan. He doesn't want to give a point of reference because as a number 9, when you got a striker, sometimes for centre back, it's like, okay, he's the number 9. I would try to stay tight on him, to be aggressive, not to receive the ball and all that. But sometimes when you don't have a number 9 in the team, it's very difficult because as a centre back, it's like, wow, I don't have a point of reference. It's just so many players around the ball, Gundogan making runs in behind, Phil Foden and Mahrez coming in, Bernardo Silva making a run, from in to out. I don't know, Kevin De Bruyne, same thing. It's very difficult to play against those players that they don't give a point of reference. This is what I'm saying. And that's why if you want to go for a striker this day, how much money you have to pay for the likes of Haaland or Hurricane, I don't know. How much it will cost? Millions of pounds.
The way that he set up this year with Pep, Pablo, like he's sort of like he's disregarded the number 9. They like you think in football, think right, if we get an opportunity to counter attack and we'll go quick, Man City don't even really want to do. They just go right. You all get back because we're so good. We're going to pop it round you. And they play with that false 9. So if you're playing centre-half against Man City, you've got no one to mark. So straight away, most teams play with a back 5 against them. So straight away they go 3 centre-halves and they have no one to mark. There's no striker. So what's the point in playing 3 centre-halves? And then all of a sudden, the runners are coming from wide. So Mahrez and Foden are running behind. Bernardo, it's so hard to play against. But I think, and I'd love this to happen, and obviously you don't know, but the best false 9 in the world, the best player we've ever seen, Messi. Yeah. Could he come to Man City in that little role? That would be the dream for Man City fans,
That would be a dream. I think for Pep, for the club, for the fans to have Messi at the club. And even in the, for fans in the Premier League to have one of the greatest player ever to play in the league. And I don't know. As an ex-Man City player, I would love Messi to go there. And for me, I would love that. But we'll see. I don't know, in the summer, Barcelona seems now got a new president in Germany trying to convince Leo to stay at the club. Maybe if Barca can afford to bring 2-3 world-class players to make the team better. Also, I can understand that Messi being his whole life at Barca, and it could be very strange to see Messi leaving Barcelona at the end of the season. But maybe he wants a different experience. Maybe he wants to experience English football, and I think Man City is probably the best place for him to go and play. He knows Pep. They know each other. As we're saying, in the way the team is playing, as a false 9, he can play without any problem. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in the summer. I think we all, reading the news.
Has he asked you about Man City, Pablo? Has he had a little phone call to you and said, "Yeah, Pablo, what's Manchester like?" Has he been on the dog and bone, as we say?
Not yet.
And on the flip side, have you? I
cannot lie to Messi. Hey, come on! I respect him too much.
Tell him it's about 90 degrees in January. Lovely beaches.
Lovely fish and chip shops in the corner in Lisbury.
I'll take him if he wants. I'll take him. I'll find him fish and chips.
I don't know. I would love to see Messi playing for Man City and in the Prem. But we'll see. We were saying a few weeks ago, we were saying, okay, it's perfect scenario for Messi to go. You go Agüero there, Pep. Agüero is leaving.
Where do you think Agüero? Where do you think he'll go?
No Agüero in the team, so he has no friends now. And
where do you think for Agüero? Where do you think? Because that's the other one. The flip is now, does Agüero go to Barcelona?
I think in the Spanish media they were saying that the Barca wants Agüero now the next season. As Joe said before, I think Sergio still got 2-3 good years in him. He could go anyway. Every single team would like to have Agüero in a team on a free. So
Chelsea.
West Ham? West
Could
Ham,
be.
come on.
Could be. Maybe no. Listen, maybe he wants to stay in England to keep scoring goals. I think he's not too far from Rooney. Or I think he got it very difficult with Alan Shearer. He got 260 goals, but not too far from.
He can do it.
Rooney, he could do it.
Well, Pablo, you could do me a favour now, and if you got on the phone to Agüero and said, "I had a great time at West Ham. West Ham are smashing it. We could really get him down."
He
at West
knows
Ham.
that. I met him a couple of times when I was at West Ham, and I say, mate, I'm enjoying the life in London so much, and I'm not sure if Kennedy Ward could be a nice play for Agüero. Not sure about that. Maybe if I speak to Sergio again,
get him on it. And I'll tell you what, you sold me coming back to live in
maybe West Ham
London.
can make a Champions League this season.
Mate,
the way they're playing,
mate. I'll tell you what.
If West Ham get the Champions League, they'll need a star. They'll need a star. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need a top striker.
Lingard and Agüero.
Dangerous.
So, Pablo, one of the bits that we do, one of the bits of this show, one of the stalwart bits of this show, and it's one of my and Joe's favourite bits, is what really happened. So we're going to get into, so we ask the public to come in with ideas. So it's an easy one. This is something that very few people on the planet will ever experience, playing in a World Cup final, 2014 against Germany. I mean, number one, so who was in that team at that time? Was that you? You were there. Obviously, was that Messi was there? Was it Agüero? Was it Tevez?
Mascherano. No, Tevez was not in that team. It was Lavezzi, Di Maria, Higuain, Messi, Agüero, Mascherano, Marcos Rojo, the guy who used to play for United. He was at United. Romero, the goalkeeper. Martin Demichelis. We had a good team, mate.
Great team.
Up front, incredible. How lucky you can be to have the same team, the likes of Messi, Agüero, Higuain, Lavezzi, Di Maria.
I remember watching that. It was a cagey game, though, right, Joe? I don't know if you remember it. I remember it being a pretty tight game.
I had them at 14-1 at the start of the tournament. I looked at them names that they got, I backed Argentina for the World Cup because I thought it's their time. And I asked Pablo now because when I was chatting to Veron years ago when he signed, so that would have been 2003, he signed for Chelsea. We signed on the same day. Yeah. And he said to me, I was asking him about Argentina. And I don't know if he said you would have been in the 23s at the time or the Olympic team. And he said he played against, he said they had the full squad like Veron, Crespo. Yeah. They played a training game against you guys, the young generation. And he said, we had this player called Messi, this player called Agüero. He was naming all the names. And he said, they beat us in the 21s, beat the full squad. He said, we'll win the World Cup. He said to me, these new players are so much better than us. I was asking him about Riquelme and all the great Argentinian players. Did you play in that game or a training game? When they beat the full squad?
We used to play a lot of games against the first team because that group of players that we mentioned before, we are all the same age, only 2-3 years different, and we used to play together in under 17, under 20 in the Olympic Games that we won in China, and we also we have been champion in under 20 in Holland. You know, the same players, same Gago was there. That's why that generation of players, we have been together for so many years. We knew each other. And I think in that World Cup in 2014 in Brazil, we were in the right, we were at our prime. All the players, we had the right age, like we were very mature. It was a lovely experience to be involved in the World Cup final. But we were very close, that game. And I think many people were expecting Germany to be that easily, like they did against Brazil 7-1. And I say, oh no, Brazil's going to win. But that game we were a good team. We were really solid defensively. We knew that we couldn't, could defend so well, and then to go on counter-attacking football with Messi, with Messi, Wayne, because I think Hummel and Boateng, they were the two centre back.
Yeah,
and they're not the fastest players, you know. And we knew they could, damage that defense, and unfortunately we couldn't score. We had 4 or 5 clear chances, and then
Higuain had a big chance, if I remember.
Higuain, he scored, but then he was
Higuain.
offside. But then he was, I think Kroos tried to head the ball back to goalkeeper. He was alone in front of the goalkeeper, and he missed that chance. Then Messi.
I remember because I had the money on it. I lost money, so I remember Higuain throwing something at the telly.
I know.
Yeah.
So a bit of luck. And then we can see that goal with only 5 minutes to go. With only 5 minutes for the extra time with Götze, that he scored that goal, and then he's been, he's
been on the beach since, and he
I know. That's what I'm saying. Man, after that goal, I think he said, "Okay, I don't want to play football anymore. I'm a World Cup champion. It's got to go in that final. I'm done." But I'm very glad. I'm very pleased that to have been involved in that final.
Is it a good memory now looking back? Is it, or do you still? I mean,
one of the best. When you play for your country, it's different. And he was in Brazil in the Maracanã Stadium. You listen to the anthem and your country. And
was it emotional for you? Because there were times for England at World Cups when I'm standing there with an anthem, and I found myself choking up because proud.
Sometimes, believe me, at some point you want to cry. But it's something. The night before, I remember I couldn't sleep. It was like I'm playing the World Cup final tomorrow, and then the Brazilians at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, they were with the fireworks and all that. So very typical in South America. And huge memory. I think one of the greatest experience I ever had in football. That group of players we mentioned before, we proved we deserved to win something with the first team. We won everything on the youngest level, but we were very close to winning something with the.
I remember Messi in that tournament was unreal in that World Cup, right? He was player of the tournament. How was he after that game? How was he?
Yeah, he was like, so frustrated, like dead. It's like, I think we all felt the same thing. After the final, we were the dressing room was like dead. It was so hard to take it, and then especially because we knew that we gave everything. I think then we went back to the hotel and we had a couple of beers together in the same room and say, okay, nothing we can do, lads. Now I think it's something we can be proud of.
Well, moving on from World Cup finals, winning leagues, Man City. This is the most important bit of your career as far as I'm concerned. We're going to move on at the end to West Ham. I was buzzed when you were joining West Ham because you're the sort of player I think West Ham fans adore. You work hard, you're a grafter, and you care, and do you have good memories of joining West Ham and being there?
Well, let me tell you something. You were saying something before. I played West Ham at the bowling ground, which was horrible team to play against.
We take that as a compliment, Pablo. Don't worry,
Joe. Don't get me wrong. He was like West Ham, tough team to play a game. Especially in the winter time, it was like the atmosphere at the stadium was great. It was one of those, grounds that you want to go and play football, but one of them that you hated because it's like playing Stoke away in a Monday night and whatnot. Those games that it's like physically it's gonna be like tough. As a defender going there, long balls, Andy Carroll, Who else was there?
Kevin Nolan.
Yeah.
Kevin Nolan.
Yeah.
You know, you Jarvis on the wing. You know, making cross all the time, set plays.
Yeah.
Winston Reed coming into the box, and then Ginger Belly.
The Ginge. Love the Ginge.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I love it. Yeah. Legend.
Man Noble making tackles everywhere, like, you know, the crowd, you know, West Ham fans know.
Yeah.
I love them. I love them because they are special. For me, something that I've learned from my time at West Ham is that when they do the irons. No, but believe me, it's just something that when you are as a West Ham player, I think you love that from fans. When, you know, after a great win or something, when you live in the stadium and you see a couple of fans on the other side and they say, "Come on, Irons, come on!" It's like I love that. I love that from them. And I think for Man Noble, Kevin Nolan, some of those, even you, Joe, for those players that they've been West Ham for years, I think you can feel it. I only been 3 years, and they were special. I think I made the right decision to go West Ham, and I'm enjoying it now myself, watching West Ham play that.
They're playing well now,
football,
right?
Incredible.
Amazing.
It's incredible.
I think they you know, at West Ham, I think as you say, you know, this is the club that you need players they give 100%. They work hard for the team. They will perform 6, 7 out of 10 every single game. They won't complain about anything. They will be, you know, those tidy players that you know that you can trust and they will do the job.
Yeah.
We're talking about Kofa, the new right back. He's been an incredible signing, you know, for the club. Souček, that when he came, he's not one of those players that in training we go, wow, you know. It's different. But look at him now after 6 months in the Premier League. He works hard without the ball. He arrived into the box every single time. He's got 8 goals. He never complains. Seems a really, really nice chap. You know, Linger came into the club and he's performing great. You know, he left Man U incredible. So
I find the one that missed the most.
Bowen, he came from Hull, from Championship. You know, and he's the player that in training you want to smash him, but he's so quick, so sharp, you know, on the ball. He's very skillful. We used to smash him, and he never, you know, complain about anything. He just come up again and give me the ball again, and we go against you again. And you know, and made it, at West Ham. That's just all the players that you need. I know they went for some big names, you know, but I think West Ham is made, you know, for those players, you know. And
I agree.
You agree
I think
with
the
me?
ones who care. I think Angelo has been missed. I think that's the big one. I think the last. I mean, they've been, you know, edge of your seat stuff like the 3-2s and the 3-alls. I think you'd agree, Joe. But I think that's when we're closing out those games. I mean, going forward now with, like, you know, Lingard, Bowen. I think Fornals being back is a big, big thing, because Fornals actually weirdly plays further up the pitch than you, Pablo, but he has that say. When Fornals is playing, I feel quite relaxed because he puts in so much work. He's a real grafter, that kid. Real work so hard.
Underrated player.
And also,
he's an
what he
important
does
part of
so
the team.
nicely is he pulls himself back. He can go forward, but when you're up against it, he'll almost just drop back into that midfield with Rice or Noble and Souček, and he that's what I love that kid. But yeah, I think Abonga being out is a big, big one. So this is my last question to you both, and Joe, Pablo.
Don't upset him. I know what he's going to say.
Can we make the Champions League?
If the team continue playing the same way and they trust in themselves, I think they got big chances. Why not? They can beat anybody at the moment. They look so confident. I know Chelsea's there, but Chelsea have to play Champions League semi-final. If they go through, they had a final sometime. You know, those games in the midweek, Champions League playing in a lovely Tuesday night in the Champions League in a lovely stadium into, a Premier League game away from home in some of the toughest games. Liverpool seems like, okay, they're out of the Champions League now, but mate, who knows?
Leicester will drop out of it, I believe. I think West Ham are going to do it, big man, but it's going to be down to what Pablo said. It's going to be down to the group of lads, not because they're not used to being in this situation where this part of the season, usually at West Ham the last 10 years, it's been very rare you've been going into the last 3 or 4 games and needing a result. It's always been comfortable this time of year and you see the season out. But now there's something to grab onto. There's something exciting. They've got to keep the standards up. So I think Lingard is going to be very important. He's 28 now. He's an experienced player coming into it. I think he needs to keep performing to the level he has. And it'll be about how quick can we get Declan back? How quick when I don't know when Ogbonna. I haven't seen when he's
at Bonga now.
Back training. That's massive.
Which is massive, yeah.
So yes, exciting, mate. I would love it. I would love it if we got into the Champions League, even the Europa League. Tom.
Listen, I spoke to Mano a few weeks ago, and I say, Mark, imagine going into your last season as a West Ham player, right? Playing Champions League football at the London Stadium. I think if there's one person who deserves that at West Ham, I think it's him, man.
Yeah.
You agree with me?
I agree with you, mate. Listen, I love Nobes. I'm seeing him Tuesday night. And
they're the outsiders there at the moment. Corals bets Chelsea 8-11, Leicester 8-11, Liverpool 8-11, West Ham 15-8. So it's big things. That's a big.
Okay.
It's so we'll all be crossing our arms, crossing our fingers, and hoping. Man, Pablo Zabaleta, it's been a joy talking to you, man. I could talk to you all day. Genuinely, you're just.
I've got plenty of time. I'm not doing anything. I choose my time after retirement. It's been tough. No football. I cannot attend to a football match. I cannot travel. I cannot move 10 miles away from home.
I know, mate. Pablo, sorry, Tom. What's the plans going forward for yourself? Where do you see yourself in the game?
I would like to continue doing my coaching batches. Something that maybe I would love to do. Maybe some point, at least try. But I think football is what I love the most, and then I'm probably going into management is something I'm thinking about. But I know it's tough. The good thing is I look quite old. I look like 50 years old. People when just retire from football. Imagine you, Joe, going into management. Mate, you look lovely face, pretty boy, lovely hair, and then in 10 years' time. Man, you will have lost your hair. You will be look so stressful. Look at the picture of the manager. I already looks, so ugly. Looks white beard. I lost all my hair. So kind of.
Mate, Pablo, I feel your pain. Pablo,
the only one is the different. Mikel Arteta looks younger and younger. If I was managing Arsenal Football Club, I was expecting him to look like Pellegrini in about 20 years.
I think if you know how to control your emotions, I think you can go into management. That is something that I'm worried about, going into how you control yourself. Mate, as a player, I couldn't control my emotion after some big defeat. I was like, it took me like 2-3 days as a player. I couldn't talk to my wife. And, I was in a bad mood for 48 hours. And imagine as a manager that you are the responsible, the main man. And then you have to go the next day into the training ground and you kind of put a bad face in front of the lads.
Yeah. Well, I speak to my colleagues who've done it, Pablo and Tom, and they all say the same thing. They say it's 10 times, the emotions are 10 times worse than being a player. The highs are higher, the lows are lower. So that's going to be a challenge, that if you're going to go into it, the emotional side of it.
Well, talking about emotional sides of things, actually, Pablo, there's one thing we can do to throw in some a little bit of emotion. We've got the predictions, right? Oof. So, JC, you beat David James last week 2-1, but now you know that I'm back. Pablo knows his football. You're really up against it, okay? So first up, Pablo, win, lose or draw, Pablo. I'm going to come to you, right? Joe has a little perchance of copying certain people. Right. So we're going to start off. I'm going to start off with it. This is a tough one, I think. Everton versus Spurs, Pablo.
I would go for Everton.
Joe?
I'm going to go with Spurs. And the reason I'm going to do that, if I remember rightly, is Everton have had a few injuries, right?
Yeah.
Spurs need to win. They have to win.
I'm going to go draw. Draw there. The biggest game of the weekend next, Newcastle versus West Ham. Pablo?
100% West Ham. Come on, Irons. Come on, we want to see Champions League football. I want some ticket at the London Stadium next season.
We can go together, the three of us. Get on the bit.
Yeah, mate,
that's where I'll have a beer, Pablo. That's where you see the big man going for it.
I'll tell you where, we might take you to the bowling pub next to Upton Park, mate. Legendary. They do coaches from there to the London Stadium, I believe. That'd be good.
Rock and roll with that. JC?
All right, I'm going to go West Ham, mate. Not copying, but listen, how can you back against West Ham at the moment, the current form?
I'm going to go West Ham. I'm
going
to go West Ham there. And finally, massive game. Man City versus Chelsea in the FA Cup. Pablo?
Tough one because, well, that's obvious now. I play for Man City. I have to say Man City 100%.
JC?
Chelsea. Of course I can't back against
I'm going to go Man City, I think. Only because I've got the quadruple bet at the moment. And I was...
You got it?
Yeah, I went quadruple. When you said quadruple, we talked about
I'm
it.
still that hope also.
I think it's written in the stars. I think Agüero's last year, he comes in, I'm telling you now, he comes in, Champions League final. Agüero!
He has stolen my show. That should have been Zabaleta!
You're like,
Imagine, no, that would have been horrible. No, it doesn't sound
Do you know what you should do,
Zabaleta?
mate?
No way. A fullback.
When you show the kids, when you show the kids and the grandkids that game against QPR, just show them your game and then cut out to the celebrating the title. Say, we won 1-0. Zabaleta the winner. Forget it.
Only show the first half, yeah.
Pablo, thank you so much for joining us. We can get you back on. It'd be lovely to get you back on. There's so much more to talk about. So thank you so much. You've been an absolute gentleman.
Pablo. Top man.
To see you,
no. It's a date. First Champions League game next season. Joe Cole, Big Tom Davis, Pablo Zabaleta, bowling, pie and mash. And then we're having some beers. Boy.
Come on, finger crossed.
Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you, lads.
What a guy, Pablo Zabaleta. I mean, wow. Like, he's got an aura about him. Really, like, just he talks and you listen, right?
Yeah, and that's why I asked him about what he's going to do afterwards, because he's a manager's dream. You know, you want at least 11 Pablo Zabaletas in your squad, like I said, he constantly throughout his interview talking about the team, the group, bringing everyone together. And that's how he was as a player. And he was a hell of a player. I think Manchester City fans appreciate him, but I played directly against him and he was a top player. He was as good a right back I played against in the Premier League. So, good lad. It'd be interesting to see what he does. And I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see him in the dugout at a top club within the next 5 years. I think he's got that mentality.
Yeah, he's a pretty special human being, and like lovely to chat to as well. Like clearly loves the game, clearly loved Man City, clearly loved West Ham.
The way he talked about the World Cup final and about being proud to play for Argentina, and he's turned it around. Look, they didn't win it, but he's turned it around to an experience that he cherished, and like that's hard to do, because losing finals for me, so, like they still burn a little bit. But I think he's got that mindset, and he's always going to turn everything that happens to him into a positive. I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a top manager one day.
Well, one day in the future.
Yeah.
Joe Cole versus Pablo Zabaleta in the dugouts, head to head.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what.
Well, he can't run now, can he? So I don't have to chase him, so that'll be all right. Standing there looking at him.
Well, I'm going to go out on that. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral. We'll see you next week.
You've been watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.